Stress-free moving, tips for a seamless transition. That's what we're going to be talking about today on Just My Opinion. This is Jessica Duncan's Just My Opinion, and I'm Jessica. There's no handbook to owning a home. That's why I go beyond the transaction to share my opinions for adulting made simple. So let's talk about removing this stress out of moving, right? It can be very, very stressful to move, but if you prepare ahead of time and follow some of these tips, it will really help. And you will thank me later, I promise. So this idea actually came from a customer of ours, Kathy Murray. Thank you for the idea. She recently made a move not too far from her old house, about an hour away. And she said, man, I wish I had some better tips. And we started talking about tips for moving. So thank you, Kathy, for bringing in this idea to us so we can share it with all of you. So number one thing to do when you are getting ready to move is start prepping. I recommend to start about a month out. So a month before your move, you know you're going to be moving. What can you do to make this move easier? Well, one of the things you can do is start decluttering your house, getting rid of stuff. Don't move stuff you're not going to use in your new house. Don't move stuff that you really just need to donate or give away. Go ahead and get rid of that stuff. It's a great time to declutter and clean out and get rid of all that old stuff that you're not going to keep anymore. Call one of the local nonprofits, have them pick it up. Or if you're going to be downsizing, you may think about getting rid of some furniture. And that may be a great time to sell it. You don't want to move it and then have to sell it because you're trying to cram it into a house that won't fit. If you're downsizing, you will have to get rid of furniture. Very important thing to remember. I can't tell you how many times I talk with customers and they're downsizing. They're like, well, my entertainment center won't fit here. My dining room table won't fit here. And I'm like, remember, we're downsizing. All your old furniture is not going to fit into this house. So go ahead and start going through and getting rid of stuff. I like to do this in my pantry and my fridge, and we have an outside fridge and freezer as well. So I like to go through them and start making meals out of whatever's in there. And if you know me, you know I love to cook, but sometimes I got to get a little creative, right? So I like to go through the pantry, come up with very creative meals that really just uses what we have. And the whole goal is not to move all this food. It's to eat what we can and use it all up so we have less to move. Also, it's a good time just to clean that pantry out. I'm sure you're probably going to find a canned good in there for 4 or 5 years ago that's probably expired. The last thing you want to do is go to Sam's or Costco and do some huge shopping order before you move, because now you're just going to have to pack it all up and move it. So now you've been preparing, you're like a month out, you've started preparing the house. The next thing you want to do is really create a moving plan. So what am I going to move? Where am I going to move it? And how am I going to move it? One of the things I do is I like to actually take a diagram of the house. So sometimes when a house has been for sale, they will actually have the diagram of the house online, so you can download that. Or if not, I will go and measure each room and plan out every piece of furniture and where it's going to go. And I know that sounds crazy, but you'll realize real quick that, wait a minute, this isn't going to fit. I actually had a move that I was not there the day that our furniture arrived in the house. Sort of weird. So I had to trust my husband 100% to put everything in the house that I wanted. And that's how I ended up doing this. And it's worked so great. We've done it with every move now. But I left town with my husband meeting the movers and a diagram of the house that showed where every piece of furniture was going. I couldn't believe how easy it was. Now, maybe it was easy for me because I wasn't there that day, but it made the move so much easier. The movers knew where to put stuff. My husband knew where to put stuff, and I was out of town. So you figured out where you're going to put all your furniture, but let's say you are moving and you don't want to bring your old furniture into the place. You want to buy some new furniture. I don't recommend going out and buying that furniture ahead of time. I recommend living in the house for a couple weeks and getting an idea of the flow of the house and what you really want in that room or in that purpose, and make sure it's going to be a good fit. Sometimes people will go out and order all this new furniture for their house and they have it delivered right away. And then 6 months later, they're like, oh, this does not fit well in this living room. I really want to lay this out different. And they've wasted a bunch of money. So don't be afraid just to live in the house for a couple weeks and see how the flow goes. So as we start talking about packing, let's talk about boxes. Where do I get boxes and what do I do with them afterwards, right? So one of the best places to get boxes is liquor stores. Liquor stores have very heavy boxes that are small enough sizes that are actually movable. So one thing you don't want to do is get these huge boxes that you can't move because they're so large. You want to make sure that they're easy to move from the trailer into your new home and vice versa. So you want to really think about those sizes. I made this mistake one time and I got these huge boxes thinking I could fit everything in there. Then I realized the box couldn't handle the weight I put in there. So liquor stores are a great place to get boxes. Also a marketplace. A lot of times there are people who've recently moved and they'll put them on marketplace for free or very, very inexpensive. And if they were new boxes that they used, you may be able to get them in still great condition to use again. So definitely check your liquor stores, check on Marketplace. Also ask your real estate agent. A lot of times real estate agents have a client who've recently moved. Well, we can actually help communicate between our clients and they just transition them from one to another and get a whole nother use out of them. So after you are done with your moving boxes and you're ready to get rid of them, there are a couple things you can do. You can put them on Marketplace. Why not try to sell them for a little bit? Or tell your real estate agent they may know of someone. You can also sometimes just put them on Marketplace with free curb pickup to get rid of those boxes. You got your boxes now, you have your plan, you're starting to do your packing. There's a few tips there that I think makes packing so much easier. One of the things is I like to label every single room. So every box will be labeled with what room it is going to in the new house. Not what room it came from, but what room will it go to in the new house, as well as what is inside that box. Now, I'm not saying you have to put every 10 pens and 3 clipboards or 10 plates, but just some basic ideas of what is in that box so that if you're all of a sudden searching for something that you need to put your hands on really fast, you can figure out probably what box it is. When you're starting to pack your stuff up, you don't want to waste a bunch of money on bubble wrap or things like that. Use what you have and need to move. So I like to use my towels, my hand towels, my wash rags. I use all of that to pack up my kitchen. Putting a wash rag in between each plate instead of a bunch of bubble wrap is going to cause me to need less boxes and save money. So use all the stuff you have around the house as packing material. The extra blankets, the blankets you use on your couch. Be smart about the way you wrap stuff up, though. You don't want to just pull out a towel and have glass fly everywhere, but use that stuff to move your other stuff securely. In your house, though, you want to create a box. That's I call it first night box. So what goes in your first night box? For us, it's sheets for the bed. It's all of our toothbrushes and toiletries, medications. Don't forget pillows. If you need anything to sleep, such as an eye mask or a sound machine, put that in there. Anything we're going to need night one in the house, like nothing like moving in a house and realizing, oh, my toothbrush is packed up somewhere and I have no idea where. So in that first night box, don't forget about the towels. Now, I know I just told you to use your towels to pack up your dishes, but you need to save some out for that first night as well so that you can shower, you have a wash rag, you can dry off. You may want to put in your first night box too some utensils for eating or paper plates. Depending on what type of food you plan to eat the first night or two in the house, you may need silverware and plates. You may want to include a little bit of that, or at least disposable ones if you're going to be eating pizza that's super easy or something like that. For me, one of my goals, my first night in every single house, is to have my kitchen unpacked. That is goal number one for me. And I know that sounds crazy, but I want to get my bed set up, my dog set up, and then my first night box set up, and then my kitchen. And while people are moving stuff in the house, I am trying to unpack that kitchen. Once that kitchen is unpacked, I just feel so much more at home. I can make sure all of our meals are prepared. And we like to eat in a lot versus eating out, so it makes it feel like home for us. So if you're not going to have your kitchen unpacked night one, then make sure you at least set back some utensils so that you can have proper meals. Don't forget about your pets. Pets can get very stressed out with moves. So the more you can make it less stressful for them is going to be better for you, but also better for them. So things like their bedding, just taking their bed and making sure they have it in the new house is really going to help. Their food and water bowl, that may need to be in your first night box. Maybe your pet has their own first night box, depending on how many and how spoiled they are. My boy is very spoiled, so he has his own first night box. We got to make sure he's got a couple toys his bedding, his food, and everything to make him feel very, very comfortable in his new home for his very first night. When you're packing up stuff too, don't forget about the cleaning supplies. Are you going to need to clean your old house and your new house before you move stuff into your new house or after you've moved all the stuff out? I would say make an essential cleaning box. That's really important to have your cleaners. Now, if you're moving across country and using movers, they may not pack these things up. So you have to plan ahead. That's something really important to think about, especially if you're doing a military move or paying a mover to move you across country. A lot of times they will not pack up chemicals or liquor. So you got to have another plan for that. But if you're doing a local move, you may want to clean your house before you move in, or you may need to clean your house after you move out. I will tell you, I'm a big fan of having a cleaner come in after you've moved out of the house. I do this for a lot of my clients. It's a service we offer. Whenever someone moves out, if they would like us to, we will schedule a cleaner to come into the house and just do a deep clean before it goes on the market, because the last thing they want to do is go back and clean out everything that they just moved out of. So make sure you pack up that box of cleaners that you're going to need that first night. Also, you want to have something just in case you spill a soda or something like that in your new house. You got to be able to clean it up. So a roll of paper towels, basic cleaning supplies, ones that you can use in multiple rooms is always going to be great. I love Lysol wipes. They're good for everything. But anything like that, and probably a broom and dustpan, are going to be essential in your cleaning pack list. So all those other chemicals you can pack up. You probably won't be doing laundry a lot the first night, so you may not need that, but have basic cleaning supplies. So you've got everything packed up, and now it's time to pack the truck up. Let's be strategic with how you pack the truck up. There are many times I have customers, unfortunately, that will go to pack the truck up and aren't very strategic about it and don't put all the big stuff up front and then backfill above it. Sometimes you put dressers and things like that in, and then there's all this space above them. Well, you can stack boxes on top of them. You don't want to forget the grill on the back porch. That happens a lot. And a lot of grills get left behind because people just forget to pack them, and now they don't have room on the truck. So make sure you think about that. Put your big items in, and then have small items that you can fill in the holes with to take advantage of every space. Dressers, if you're doing a local move, one of the things I like to do is just take the drawers out of dressers, leave everything in there, take the drawers out, move the dresser, put the drawers back in. Why unpack everything in a drawer to move a dresser? It makes it so much more simple. And think about how you're going to use your mattresses. Mattresses make actually some good padding and help squeeze things together so they're not moving around in the truck. So be strategic with how you pack the truck. Don't just throw everything in there. You want to pack every nook and cranny and take advantage of it. And if you can afford to, I strongly recommend hiring some movers to help or recruiting some help. Now, I will say if you hire movers to help, they are not going to take care of your stuff the way you do. There's always going to be one or two things broken. You're just going to have to expect that. They are normally pretty good about replacing it, but if there is very expensive, unreplaceable antiques with glass or something that is unreplaceable and has sentimental value, maybe you don't want to do that. But if you can't afford to hire some movers, it does help. When we hire movers, the way we do it is one of us sits at the truck and the other one sits in the room the movers are in. And we just take a chair and sit down in it. And the reason why we use a chair is because otherwise you're going to get up and start moving stuff. You're not going to sit there and watch the movers. Well, you're paying the movers to do this for you. So don't kill your back while you're doing it. So sit there and watch what they do. If you're watching them, you can make sure they're taking care of your furniture and your items a lot better. Not only that, they're going to have a lot harder time throwing those boxes or just damaging your furniture while you're sitting there watching. They're going to take a little bit more time and care of your stuff. Don't forget, when you're moving, you also need to forward your mail. So sometimes it can only take a couple days, but let's say you're buying new construction. Maybe that address isn't registered right away with the post office. It may take a little longer. So on new construction, I do recommend you go ahead and do a change of address a lot sooner. But if you're going to a resale that's already established, do a change of address 3 to 5 days before your move. You should be good to start receiving your mail at your new location. Now, if you have new construction, make sure there's a mailbox, because sometimes there's not a mailbox and you can't get your mail if you don't have a mailbox. They won't send it to you. Don't forget to notify all the people you do business with, all your credit card companies, and your car insurance. This is a huge mistake, and I'll tell you all an embarrassing story. I did not realize that your car insurance is tied to your zip code, and they will not forward your bill. Years ago, when I used to pay my car insurance a year in advance, that's how long ago it was. They won't even let you do that anymore, only 6 months now. But I used to pay my car insurance for the year. Just get it done, over with, it's paid. Well, we moved, and I got a letter from the state that said my tag was being canceled because I didn't have insurance on my car. And I'm like, what in the world? Yes, I got insurance. Remember, I paid a year in advance, so I don't always remember exactly when that date was due. So I call my insurance company. I'm like, what's going on? And they're like, no, we don't, you're not insured. I'm like, well, I didn't get a bill. And they're like, yeah, we sent it. It was returned. You moved and didn't tell us. So make sure you change your car insurance address. Make sure they know. Your policy may change by a couple dollars, but that's very important. You don't want to be driving around without insurance like I was. Thank God nothing happened but a letter from the state, and I took care of it right away. Thank God I wasn't in an accident. Notify all of your utility companies. Make sure you have power on in the house. So I normally don't recommend turning on power or utilities in your name till about 3 days before closing. The reason why is that date can shift sometimes. So I want to make sure you're not having to go back, redo it again. So just 3 days before closing, when you know that date is good, go ahead and schedule those utilities to be turned on in your name. You don't want to show up moving in your new house and there be no power. How awful would that be? So I have to tell you a story of something that happened to us one time, and this is something to think about in the new house. Make sure you have a couple extra light bulbs. So years ago, we bought a house, and when we started moving in, it was the middle of summer. We're moving in. We hadn't even turned a light on the house. It had lots of good natural light. Well, as it started to get dark, I went to use the restroom, and so I'm flipping the light switch, trying to turn the light on in the restroom. The light didn't come on. I'm like, what in the world? So I start looking around the house and flipping on other light switches and realized that we had no light bulbs in the house. The previous owner had removed every light bulb but one in the entire house. Who thinks about doing that? So just a little thing to think about now when I go through walkthroughs. Prior to closing, I always make sure the house has light bulbs in it. Never thought I'd have to do that, but make sure you're going to be able to see when you're in that new house your first night. Hopefully these tips will help you with your next move. If you know someone who's thinking about a move coming up, go ahead and share it with them. Save them some stress as well. We hope you enjoyed the podcast. If you have any questions or ideas for other podcasts, please DM me on Facebook or Instagram. I'd love to hear your ideas, and we may just mention you on the podcast as well. So let's talk about our home hack. Each week I do a home hack, and it's really just something to help make homeownership easier, whether it's an app, an idea, a technique. This week we are going to talk about home inventory software. So it goes so great with moving, but also can help with insurance. So there are several home inventory softwares out there that you can use. If you just Google that, you'll find a ton of them. Doesn't matter which one, just use one to stay organized. There's a couple out there that I found: Sortly, Boxes, Everspruce, and Encircle. Those are all some of the apps, but there's tons others out there. It'll just help you create an inventory of your life and make that move a little bit smoother. We hope you enjoyed the podcast. Join us next time on Just My Opinion.